On this Victory Monday episode of the Locked On Texans podcast, new year, new Texans. It's been a while since the playoffs. Houston has a shot.
You are Locked On Texans, your daily Houston Texans podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome, Texans fans, to this Monday episode of the Locked On Texans podcast, a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, even
every year.
In the new year.
Every year.
I am your Texans football analyst, John, some sports guy Hickman, and of course, on the other side, Sports Illustrated's own Texas Credential Media member, Cody Davis. If this is your first time listening to the Locked On Texan podcast, new year, you want to check out a new podcast that talks Texans, thank you for stopping by. Be sure to subscribe, to like, and comment. And if you are one of our returning listeners like Mr. Higgins, shout out to Mr. Higgins. Thank you for stopping by once again as we continue to talk Texans. We got a lot to talk about a little bit today, right? We got the Texans still in the playoff race. They control their destiny. CJ Stroud returned in action against the Tennessee Titans. He looked quicker, right? And some of that, him looking quicker, guys, I got to give Bobby Sloak a little nod a little bit. We're going to open up today's show talking about the defense and how Will Anderson, I think, had his statement moment of the year, especially for a team that needed him with John Grenard out. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use all lowercase LockedOnNFL promo code for a first-time deposit match up to $100. When you look at the Houston Texans' 26-3 victory over the Tennessee Titans, what are we going to highlight? Well, we're going to highlight the defense holding the Titans 1 of 12 on third downs, 2 of 4 on fourth downs. We're going to highlight this team holding this Tennessee offense to 187 total yards, 3.5 yards per play, only 134 passing yards, Cody and listeners, only 53 rushing yards, Cody and listeners. A team that offensively and defensively altogether had a clean brand of football. Only one penalty on the day, and that was from Desmond King. I don't think he heard that whistle, but Desmond King was bringing the energy from
they should have let my boy have that, man.
To the field. They should have let her have it. Everything was rocking and rolling at that point. And again, he got robbed of another potential touchdown. Speaking of touchdown for the defense, we're going to highlight Sheldon Rankins getting a scoop and score from old man Jerry Hughes with the sack strip, helping this Texans defense put 7 points on the board, their first defensive touchdown of the year. But Cody, we're going to highlight the rookie, the man himself, coming back after missing some time away. We're going to highlight Will Anderson Jr., who I think with no John Grenard, no Malik Collins, this was a team coming into this game. He was announced Friday he would play. They did not have the game records on that defensive front that we saw them have when they were successful early in the year at times. But we look at Will Anderson returning back to action, 2 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, just shining for this defensive front that were down a couple of key players. What are your thoughts?
It just brings a smile to my face, man. Every time Will Anderson Jr. has had a great game. Exactly. Every time Will Anderson Jr. has had a great game, I always come on this show, and I'm going to repeat the same statement again. This is why Nick Caserio and Coach D'Amico Ryans wanted Will Anderson Jr., with their franchise, that this is part of the reason why they went out there and gave up a healthy package in order to get this young man. And Will Anderson Jr. is living up to the lofty expectations. And John, I'm not going to go as far as to say this is his signature moment. I still believe that was during the Texans victory against the Denver Broncos. I believe that was the first game he had where he had 2 sacks. Of course, he had that pass deflection that ended up being an interception for Derek Stingley Jr., another guy who is coming along towards the second half of this season. But I've just loved watching the growth and the development of Will Anderson. John, towards the end of the second quarter, everybody was excited to see him get back-to-back sacks to close out the quarter, and that actually broke the franchise record for most sacks by a rookie defensive player who had it was actually Whitney Merciless and another player that was tied with 6.5. Will Anderson Jr. has a total of 7 as of right now. But John, to me, this game, especially with him playing hurt, by the way, and that's why he was on limited snaps. That's why he did not start the game. But the fact that he was limited and he still went out there and had one of his most dominating performance of the season says a lot about Will Anderson Jr. Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say with his limitations on his snap count, which is something that head coach D'Amico Ryans talked about in the post-game press conference.
Mm-hmm.
Will Anderson generated 2 sacks, 6 quarterback pressures against the Titans. He had a pressure rate of over 54% per next gen stats. So he had a limited snap count, and in over half of his snaps, he created the pressure that this front four needed. I think that's why I'm saying, okay, he had maybe his best game. Because I don't want to take away the fact that there was no John Grenard on the opposite side. And before we close out how good this defense looked, we're going to talk about some of the in-season additions to this team. But it was no John Grenard. He was on a snap count. He was coming off of missing time. But I think it was the way he got those sacks.
Yeah.
It was something that, coming into this season, I say, guys, y'all got to hold off a little bit for Will Anderson with these sack numbers that y'all want to see, because he has to learn how to win one-on-one at the NFL level. That bull rush ain't going to always work. And so on that first sack of the back-to-back, you saw Will Anderson get very low to beat the tackle, right? And you saw him be able to get after the quarterback that way. And then on that next sack, you saw Will Anderson get his hand movement in, right? Get off me, get off me. And so it was impressive to see how he got those sacks, because I think for the 5.5 or however it was coming into this game, a lot of that was just motor and pure strength, which is what that Bama kid has. He played for Alabama. That's what he has as a young man. But I was impressed with how he was able to get after the quarterback.
And I would say, I think this might be one of his most, if not his most impactful game. And I'm glad that you talked about the pressures, because 6 pressures that he had, I believe the very first one he had was either the second or the third snap that he played. And that pressure that he had on Will Levis forced a deep ball incompletion to Chris Moore. And the one thing that I loved about the return of both Will Anderson Jr. and CJ, both of those guys set the tone for their respective sides of the ball. And that's exactly what Will Anderson Jr. did. And because he had force an incompletion with that deep ball pass attempt, is part of the reason why I do believe that we are sitting here talking about a victory, a much needed victory, and one of the best games from Will Anderson Jr. Because had Will Levis gotten to that point of completing that deep ball pass attempt to Chris Moore, then that probably would have got him into a rhythm, and then that probably would have changed the whole notion of this game. But thankfully, Will Anderson is a game changer and an impactful player for this organization.
Absolutely. And this Texans defense overall, did they have a monster performance after giving up, I don't know how many points. I don't even want to remember how many points.
A lot.
In yards to Joe Flacco. We know about the Jerry Hughes strip sack, and we saw a scoop and score from
Sheldon Rankins.
from Sheldon Rankins. We saw Kurt Hinish get in on the action. He had a half a sack. Will Anderson with 2 sacks. We saw Sheldon Rankins with a sack. Jerry Hughes, of course, with a sack. Derek Barnett, a sack and a half. I want to give credit where credit is due. Barnett, in-season pickup. Bringing back Khalil Davis. I had a chance to talk to him, and we'll kind of expand more on him, this week. Tart played for the Tennessee Titans, had his first opportunity to suit up for the Texans Sunday. He had a great game. If you go back and look at that scoop and score, Tart did a very good job of beating the double team by splitting the defender. Derrick Henry is coming out to get into his route. He knocks Derrick Henry off of his route, and I think that disruption is what helped cause the confusion for the quarterback, which led to maybe holding the ball a little bit longer because there was no play to dump the ball off to. And Jerry Hughes, who did have a sack, and I'm surprised he had a step on the tackle. I'm surprised he didn't get hit with one of those PD drug tests after the game. He looked a little bit quick on that, but you saw him be able to beat the tackle and make that play. But I also think what Tart was able to do, just knocking Henry off of his route a little bit, making him uncomfortable, and they were taking away the dump-off pass is what helped to that play. Tart had a very good game today on Sunday. So the in-season pickups, Kareem Jackson got some burn today. Adrian Amos, I want to give credit where credit is due because they did a very good job of just keeping up with the injuries and next man up and bringing in guys that fit their culture, something that D'Amico Ryans talked about. It's another good thing we can highlight throughout the week, and guys that were just ready to play. But overall, this defense played phenomenal. And I also want to mention that 5 games before the last 2, the Texans do have a sweep against the Tennessee Titans. 5 games coming into that game, we saw Derrick Henry from 2019 to 2022 rush for over 1,100 yards, 6 TDs. In the 2 games this year, 38 carries, 51 yards, no TDs. We're looking at a defense which is highlighted from Will Anderson that has – what did he say at the press? They got stop the run.
Stop the run for their D-line meetings.
Can we play that? I want you guys to hear how important it is for this defense to stop the run from Will Anderson, who I think is a major reason why we're seeing the improvement from this defense.
That's all we preach, is stopping the run. Like it's literally in our D-line room, like stop the run. Like before we talk about anything else, we're gonna stop the run. Like it always starts with us up front. Like without us up front, like if we out of our lock gaps or anything like that, like the defense is no good, man, because it starts with the big boys up front. So we really like home in on like, look, we got to stop this run, and then we stop this run, we can get the 3rd down and we can eat. And then for the first question, man, it's really just going back and self-reflecting, looking in the mirror and saying like it's not good enough. You know what I'm saying? Like people can talk about double team rate, this and that. It doesn't matter. Like it's not good enough. You know what I'm saying? So that's why you have to come and approach every day like, how can I get better? And I think the coaches, we've been doing a really good job. We stay after practice about 10 minutes and just working little stuff, working edges, working different angles, different moves, everything like that. And I think like people always talk about this rookie block. Like you're gonna get this rookie block. And it's like, how can you get a rookie block where you're so intrigued on learning? And you're so intrigued on like almost reaching your goal. And I think that's what it is. Like all the rooks here, like I don't feel like none of us has reached a rookie block because we're so eager to learn. We're like, we see success and we just want to keep going and going to get it. And man, it's been a beautiful thing to see from all the young guys, man, and even the vets. So I think that's what just keeps this team going, is the hunger and just to keep learning ball and keep getting better. So it's been beautiful.
On the defensive side, we had an impact rookie who returned back to action, but there's no way we're not going to talk about the other sensational rookie quarterback, CJ Stroud, who I still think is rookie of the year. His return.
What you mean? Man, his name been on there since what, week 4, week 5?
Listen, everybody got a chance to talk, but now he came back. 1 TD on the day. We'll talk about more of CJ Stroud's return. But first, I'm absolutely excited to tell you guys about Prize Picks, one of my favorite apps. I got it on my phone. I don't even need to log in online on the computer. I got it on my phone. Whenever I'm ready to make an over-under choice selection, I'm going right to Prize Picks, which is the largest daily fantasy sports platform in North America. The easiest and most exciting way. Let me say that again. the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's not me versus Cody. It's not me versus the listeners. It's not me versus Christian Harris. It's not me versus nobody. It's just me against the numbers. I pick the more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and I sit back and I watch the winnings roll in. Prize Picks offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in place even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an insurance policy. You can also have fun with some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community, like rapper Meek Mill and Andrew Schultz. You can now find community plays under the promo tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Download the Prize Picks app to your phone, or if you're a desktop guy or gal, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use promo code LockedOnNFL for a first-time deposit match up to $100.
First, I just got to give all glory to God. This week's just been one of them weeks in the league, man. People talk about walking to the NFL moment, and, you always got your moments on the field, but I think off the field was one of the biggest challenges I faced this week as an NFL player, and just being a pro and learning how to be a pro. But like I said, I just got to give all glory to God. But yeah, I think it's just the type of person I am, the type of person I've been made into, the person God has made me to be, the person my parents raised me to be, all the great coaches I've got a chance to play for, Coach Fed, Coach Rogers in high school, Coach Saban. And I remember I had a similar situation happen to me in college my sophomore year. I had got cut blocked, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to play that week. They was talking about surgery, all this other stuff. And I remember Coach Saban sat me in his office, and he was just like, nobody's 100% right now at this time. Like, everybody's banged up. You got your injury going on, and he was like, it just shows that you're a warrior. It shows what type of competitor you are. And those are the type of moments that you never forget. And you go out there and you ball out for your brothers and everything like that, and God's taking care of you. So for me, that's all I was thinking about this week, was just like, how can I be a warrior? How can I be a competitor? Trusting God, knowing that, He makes no mistakes. Everything happens for a reason. And my brothers got my back, and I got their back. So that's just where it kind of was going into this week.
Welcome back in, ladies and gentlemen, to this Victory Monday installment of Locked On Texans, kicking off 2024, baby. But what you guys just heard was Will Anderson Jr. I had an opportunity to ask him after the game, how was he able to block out the pain that he was having and have that same impact on this game? And you guys heard it, man. The one thing I love about this whole entire draft class, not just Will Anderson, not just CJ Stroud, but this whole entire draft class, man, that the Texans have, they really just love football. And look, I understand it. I get it. You might hear that statement and think to yourself, well, Cody, what do you mean they love football? Of course they love football, because they've been playing it their whole entire lives, and now they're in the NFL making millions off it. Well, look, a lot of times when some of these players get to that level, they lose that love and passion. And to see it literally grow every single day since they drafted a lot of these guys, even Tank Dell, who we saw as the repping H-Town honoree on yesterday, man. It was good to see Tank Dell walking without a boot, by the way. So his recovery is, of course, going well. But the one thing, man, like I said, I love about this rookie class, that they really love football, especially your new franchise quarterback and CJ Stroud. Once again, man, it was phenomenal to see CJ back. And John, for me personally, I think it was, I can't remember if it was either the Friday show or the Saturday show that we did. I said the one thing that I'm interested, the one thing I'm excited about to see what changes will CJ Stroud make to his game. Because he said he started watching TV, the game where the Texans did defeat Tennessee 2 weeks ago. And he said throughout the whole 2 weeks he was sidelined, he actually studied the game from afar, went over plays, did everything he could to study. And I wanted to see if I was going to see a difference in CJ's game. And I did.
You did.
John, I think this might have been the best game, was CJ going through his reads and his progression very quick. I think I could count maybe on one hand, and I'm not even going to get up to 5, how many times I thought that CJ held on to the ball too long, man.
I think it's twice. I would say maybe twice.
And that sack that he had, that was his fault.
That was the second half.
Yeah, that was in the second half. But
we got to mention how the second half.
No, you're good. But I just love how he was making those quick decisions, because not only did that keep this offense efficient, but it also protected him in the long run. Because the one thing that Coach DeMeco Ryans kept talking about ever since CJ got hurt was they need to do a better job protecting their quarterback. And I'm sitting there thinking, every time he said that, I'm like, Coach, I 100% agree with you. He got hit way too many times, and that offensive line did not look good leading up to his concussion. However, majority of the times when he did get hit, it was his fault. And to see him literally hone in and to make those precise decisions, man, I love the performance that I saw out of CJ Stroud, especially in that first half.
Yeah, and protecting the quarterback isn't just the offensive line's job. Yeah, 80% of maybe 70, but I mean, they got a bulk share of the pressure of protecting the franchise quarterback. But Cody, to your point, I want to highlight the first two drives. The first drive didn't end in a touchdown, but we saw them get out there and do two things. Number one, Cody, you're talking about CJ doing a very good job of going through his reads and getting the ball out. I think he and Bobby Slowick complemented each other for the first half. Yep. Did a very good job, because coming into this game, my biggest question and concern was, okay, we've seen CJ just go out there and will this team offensively to victory because he is that talented. But I didn't want to necessarily see that from a quarterback coming off the concussion, the type that he had, keeping him out 2 weeks, right? I didn't want to see him necessarily have to have the pressure all on his shoulder, considering, and the fireworks are going off because of the Texans winning the game, but considering that, hey, they got a very important game that they got to close the year out with, they could possibly get them in the playoffs. But what I wanted to see was how will Bobby Slowick help this offense out from the sideline. And in the first half, he did a very good job. Those quick passes and quick plays were design reads, getting the ball out quicker. Some of those screen passes I thought was a very good play call by the one to Robert Woods, got him down to the red zone on that first drive. They didn't punch it in, but they did end up with 3. And then they followed up on that second offensive drive, where it's a 13-play drive, 94 yards, 7 minutes. All of those passes, well, most of those passes were designed quick passes. We saw Houston offense get a lot of help from the run game. Devin Singletary was very good for Houston. He rushed for 5 yards on the day. Overall, they ran the ball, rushed for over 100 yards on the day. On that play, on that drive, on that 94 yards, 32 came from the rushing attack, combining. We look at Devin Singletary and Dameon Pierce combining. So I thought that Bobby Slowick did a very good job of just help ease his quarterback into it, right? We're going to get a three-step drop, right to Noah Brown in the middle field. We're going to get the ball out in space really quick. Boom. All you got to do is look, make some of these throws to Nico Collins out, maybe Devin Singletary to pick it up out of the backfield and pick up 3 yards, right? We're going to do some of these simple things that's going to help you get into a rhythm, and then we're going to end off the drive on that second drive by scoring a touchdown where you got Brevin Jordan in motion. He comes across, and then, boom, all you got to do is find you, and he runs it in, right, for a 12-yard touchdown. So in that first half, I was impressed with the decision-making from Bobby Slowick as a play caller, and for CJ Stroud to do some of the things that you mentioned, not hold on to the ball, right? It was designed for you to get the ball out quickly. Just go ahead and do it, right? Put yourself in a position to where you're helping out the offensive line. Help me, help you type of deal, right? I'm just get the ball out. You don't even got to worry about nobody getting close to me because the ball is already gone. If they hit me now, God dog it, I'm getting a 15-yard penalty, roughing the passer. So I thought in that first half, especially that second drive, Bobby Slowick, CJ Stroud, offensive line, playmakers out on the field, they were all in sync and knew the job, knew the goal. And that was get the ball out quickly. Let's move the offense. And, hey, Devin Singletary, we need for you to do your thing. Dameon Pierce, when you get an opportunity, which wasn't a lot, he ran for, I think, 2.5 yards on a day. But we need for you to pick up a couple extra yards here and there so we can make sure that we're protecting our quarterback. I thought all phases of protecting CJ was on point. In the second half, I'm not going to lie, they got stale offensively. They let the foot off the pedal, off the gas. I didn't like that because you can't afford to have a second half like that against the Indianapolis Colts, who won Sunday. Against the Jacksonville Jaguars, they won on Sunday. So now this is a crucial game, comes down to the wire. But you can't afford to have moments like that against a team that they hungry too. They want to get into the playoffs as well. They've missed the playoffs for last season. So one of the things that I want to see, Cody, and I want your opinion on this before we move on, with CJ Stroud looking quicker this game and some of the decision making from the play calling standpoint, one of the things I want to see is just continue to do that for 4 quarters. Do not get complacent. Keep your foot on the pedal, and also make sure that it is a point of emphasis to get Dalton Schultz involved.
You have to, especially against Indy. And look, I didn't mind them getting complacent in the second half, only because a halftime the score is 20-3. I want to say somewhere along those lines. Tennessee, half of their players ended up getting hurt in the first half. They didn't really have nothing to play for. They was literally just going through the motions in the second half. So I understood it. I get it. And a lot of the guys that, we're raving about, Will Anderson, CJ, this was their first game back. So in the second half, man, I just felt that it was like, okay, y'all just go and continue to get back in game shape or whatever the case might be. However, consistency is the only thing that I need the 2023 Texans to do. Because, John, that's the one thing that I'm always harping on. And throughout this whole entire season, every time the Texans get us to a point where it's like, there's a breakthrough coming. They about to win the division. CJ's in MVP consideration. Coach of the year, this and that, and this and that, and this and that. The following week, they just fall back to their old ways, and they do not look like the team that looked really good the week prior. I have been harping on consistency, and what we saw, especially in that first half against the Tennessee Titans on Sunday, they definitely need to replicate that Saturday, Sunday, next Wednesday, whenever they play, because the game is getting flexed as we recording this. We just don't have the official time right now. But of course, 9 times out of 10, that game will be played on the Saturday, but they need to make sure that they play a whole entire 4 quarters, 60 minutes of football. John, I think we had this conversation last week. I think you said there was only 1, maybe 2 games where they played a full, complete game on both sides of the ball. And that is something that they need to make sure that they do when they play against the Colts, because we're going to talk about it in the next segment. They win, they are in.
They're in. Also, I do want to give credit to the offensive line. This is an offensive line that missed Laramie Tunsil. He went down, went to the blue tent, then went to the locker room. He did not return. And I hope it's just a precaution that he didn't return, because they're going to need him next week against the Indianapolis Colts. Charlie Heck, I thought, did a very good job today in his performance. George Fant, who had an opportunity to talk to after the game, he stepped in. He's been banged up and dealing with injuries, and so they kind of left him out and put him on the bench. But he came in as a reserve role player and did a very good job for the offensive line. I give no blame to the O-line for Sunday. That 1 sack is on CJ. Should have got the ball out, but he'll learn from that. It was a clean game from both sides of the ball, and I think both sides of the ball benefited from how good the trenches played, the offensive line and the defensive line. So credit to those big guys up front. The Texans win, and guess what? They're in. And if you win with FanDuel, you got some money coming your way. Even if you ain't put a lot of money down. The NFL season is wrapping up right now. There's still time to get in on the action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. So you got a 5 on it? I got 5 on it, and I can get $150 back in my pocket in bonus bets, win or lose. The app is easy to use. There's many different ways to bet. You got the live same game parlays. You find bets in the new Explore tab. Make a parlay in the Parlay Hub, the best way to find popular parlays and much more. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet a layup. euro if you want to. FanDuel, the official partner of the NFL. Welcome back in, Locked On Texans listeners and viewers. I don't know if y'all are as hype as y'all should be. I know we can't visibly see y'all, but if y'all are hype as y'all should be, I need for y'all to drop fire emojis, hype, whatever. Drop whatever you got a emoji in these comments, because for the first time since 2019, the Texans have a winning record. You talk about a 1 year turnaround. You talk about 1 year progress. You talk about 1 year success. You're talking about a new head coach, a first year head coach, a first year offensive coordinator, a rookie quarterback, a rookie DN. You talk about the second year leap, especially when you look down the stretch from Christian Harris, who I didn't get a chance to talk and ask D'Amico Ryans this, but Christian Harris has been playing some good football for this Texan team in conference.
Yeah.
You talk about a lot of these things that are new, and in 1 year, you go from 3-13-1 to now a winning record and possibly making the playoffs, Cody.
But John, it's not that. It's like, if they win Saturday, this will be only the third time in franchise history that they have won 10 games. This will be the fifth time in franchise history that they won 10 or more games. Like, yes, I'm hyped, happy, ecstatic, thrilled, all of this covering the Texans this year. But I'm literally stunned to see the growth and development from this coaching staff and this team so fast this soon. Because, John, a lot of people, including myself, had this team winning no more than 6 games. I thought without a shadow of a doubt that we were in for a long, dreadful season, but more so in the first half. And to see them just put everything together in a blink of an eye, like John, think about this. If they win Saturday, depending on their matchup, you're looking at a situation where this is a franchise that may not be one and done. So I'm just like, I'm just stunned at the same time, just looking at the 2023 Texans. But if health prevents this team to, if they can stay healthy moving forward, man, and continue to build, like, this franchise is on the verge of something special. And it's like, we thought they had something special with Deshaun and D-Hop and all them, but
and they did.
They did. But at the same time, they had their moment without a shadow of a doubt. It was fun. As a matter of fact, our guy Barrett, Coach Barrett, had posted arguably my favorite moment in franchise history when Deshaun got out of that double sack against the Bills in that playoff game. But I think what the Texans have right now can easily become the greatest era in franchise history.
Yeah. I think what makes this team so potentially special is rookie deal quarterback, rookie deal Will Anderson. Maybe they look to pick up their 5th-year option on Derek Stingley. So, who knows when you have to pay him.
You could get hometown discounts from Grenard and Nico,
right, and Nico, and you still got rookie deal, Tank Deal, right? You still got pieces like Christian Harris, right? I don't think it's going to command, right? Whatever. I don't even look towards a contract. You still got second year Jalen Petrie, right? Now you can look at the next offseason through free agency and the depth. You don't necessarily need a lot of home run hitters. You don't have to be like the Philadelphia Eagles and try to go out there and buy a championship. But you can go out there and build that depth, right? You can go out and draft well still. You can go out there and get some of these pieces in free agency. Then you can look at re-signing some of your important players that you already have here on the roster. So the Texans are still in the race. I know I'm getting ahead of myself. They are still in the race. But I think that, as I've said for the past few weeks, it's going to come down to Saturday's matchup or whenever they're going to play, right? And I think that energy transfers. And I think when you look at the Colts and you look at the Texans, it's two teams that have some good energy right now. The Colts maybe a little bit more, but the Texans, should be looking at that game personal. We're a totally different team in the sense than the team you took on in that first half. We're different defense than the team you took on in that first half. It's going to come down to, of course, containing the running room. They cannot allow some of those mesh routes, crossing concepts to beat them in the middle. So the linebackers got to play on point. But overall, the Texans still being in the race to make the playoffs after 1 year under a lot of these new, I think it's great. Not only do I think it's great, I thought it was great when I said it was going to happen months ago. But I'm super happy and proud of this franchise and where they are right now.
365 days ago, we was looking at the same game, a game nobody wanted to win. And now we in the same situation, in the same place, and it's a game everybody wants to win.
Funny how life works. Funny how life works, but y'all enjoy y'all New Year's. Thank you for listening to the Locked On Texans podcast. Once again, shout out to Mr. Higgins. Had an opportunity to meet that young man today. It's always great when I can meet and chop it up very briefly, not as long as I wanted to with a listener. If this is your first time again, make sure that you subscribe, like, and comment on YouTube. Give me a follow on Twitter at John_Hickman12. I just got one message. Make sure that y'all are safe for this day on New Year's. Make sure that you take today personal to make the next 364 days personal about being a better version of yourself.
And
Rockets, Jalen Green, I need that consistency. I'm just sorry. Go ahead.
And as always, I'm your host, Cody M. Davis. Please remember to follow me on Twitter at CodyDavis_24. Once again, that's Cody COTYDAVIS_24. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen, peace. Happy New Year.